the strongest champion in the game, seemingly according to these players in the LPL. I don't know, again, if that's necessarily true. And even when we were bringing up junglers, made sure not to mention the Pantheon because we knew it wasn't going to be possible to select.
Yeah, Ultra Prime have a couple of interesting B1s that they could go here. Corki is one. Trundle is another. Again, just like I said in our first series of the day, Grapes, I am heavily opposed to Trundle as a B1 champion, but still, it has its uses. It basically, you know, says screw this one person in particular, and I do think that going into game number 2, Ultra Prime needs someone to lead them, and I think a Subjugate is basically a good calling for you to just say, all right, let's aim for this person, and we can directionalize kind of our team fights from there.
Response, though, will be the Xayah Rakan, who have a decent time into this Trundle. You can get away from the pillar with, you know, a number of those different abilities. The response, though, is Baiye locking in that Lucian was banned away in game number 1 by LNG, actually. So they were a little bit worried about this pick here for Baiye. We might see some pretty aggressive 2v2s going on this time.
Nami here?
A very stark difference from the Smolder versus Senna. This time we're getting Xayah Rakan against Lucian Nami.
Yeah, so this is going to be a much bloodier, a much more fight-oriented bot lane. And I really like this from Baiye and XiaoXia. I think that this is going to be... Obviously, everyone fears the Lucian Nami. Lucian has been one of the highest banned champions in basically the world at the current moment, simply because not only is he oppressive in the early game, but he pairs so damn well with basically every support that's good right now. You can put him on engage supports. You can put him with enchanters. It does not matter. This man is multi-talented and very good at teamwork, and I am interested to see how that works for them. As so far, I think the big thing for Ultra Prime is lack of engage and lack of range so far. They don't have like a go button, so to speak. LNG kind of solved that problem with Vi, but I think Ultra Prime need to make up in these last 2 picks to try and get something that immediately allows them to go in and for this Lucian to unleash his barrage of autos and abilities.
With Zhang being such a big skirmishing, you know, bruiser player, maybe some options left on at the table for him to select here in this second phase. The Jax has been one of his best champions throughout his entire career. K'Sante has grown higher in priority for him as we've gone on. Always kind of hoping that we see the Pocket Riven here for him. It's something that he played a lot when he was with
against Renekton. It's not happening.
PCS. Yes, if this gets locked in for Zika, maybe that's not going to happen though.
Yeah, that's definitely not happening if it's Renekton. It is going to be... I mean, you could go, like... I like that they banned K'Sante. This is a good... Yeah, this would have been a good K'Sante angle for them. I don't hate the Aatrox, but I would be really interested to see if this Gragas locks in actually comes through, because this is not a very common champion, Graves, anymore, but it is the perennial counter pick that nobody likes facing in the top lane.
Yeah, big neutralizer, big beefy body, has a little bit of range, a little bit of engage, a little bit of disengage, of course, as well. So some of the answers that you were hoping from Ultra Prize composition has been kind of remedied with that pick. The Victor could help with some of the consistent teamfight damage as well, which Lucian can provide a little bit, but on a more consistent front, this Victor will be dishing out DPS with those lasers, with the Arcane Storm. Very fun composition that Ultra Prime has set up for themselves.
And now the million-dollar question is, what will be the counter pick from Haichao? Orianna, pretty good here, actually. You have a lot of ball delivery systems, and you do need a heavy source of magic damage. This isn't something that we mentioned quite yet, Grapes, but you need someone that does a lot of damage in the mid lane. And Orianna, I'm not sure is the highest damage dealer in mid, but certainly under the right conditions, the shockwave can obviously be very devastating. And so I think the onus really is going to be on Xiaofang yet again, like in game number 1, to visit his mid laner over and over, for Zhuo as well to visit that mid lane, for those two to sync up and just constantly give resources over to this Orianna so that your damage profile can be diversified as the game goes on.
It's a great point you bring up too. For LNG, the 5v5 works well, but the ball delivery system is why that is able to succeed now. You can send in the Rakan, you can send in the Vi, send even the Renekton in with the ball, the command protect on top of them. And that shockwave can really dish out some DPS, especially onto the backline. Very squishy in the Victor, Lucian, and Nami for Ultra Prime. But for UP, I feel like their dueling, their early game skirmishing can definitely come to party against the best of what LNG have to offer. That's what they're going to have to look at here early on in this game.
Yeah, it definitely is. Whenever you have a Lucianami, that is the lane that you automatically 100% are going to focus your efforts toward. And Lucian, I mean, it pays off every single time. In this tier of competition, these guys know how to move, and frankly, this is a champion that supports a lot of, I would say, micro advantages and just being able to actually have good mechanics, and that's what the LPL is all about. It's about the fighting, it's about the skirmishing, and no one does it better than Lucian in the current meta, besides Pantheon, but Pantheon's constantly permaban. So looking at the top side, particularly for one team, looking at the bot lane for another, and do my eyes deceive me, Baiye with Electrocute Ignite Lucian.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, indeed. As, yeah, that's basically just full offense. You know, he's taken the best defense is a good offense. He's taken that saying to heart in this second game and really hoping that it can net his team a win. Again, Ultra Prime, they lose this series. They're down 0-5. They lose to every other team in Group Nirvana ahead of the second phase of round robins, and that is not a good position for you to be in. It's demoralizing, frankly, as well. I have to feel like mentally that is just such a bad place to be.
You want to hear a fun fact, Quacks?
I do.
The last series that Ultra Prime won in the LPL, April 26th, 3.5 months since the series has been won by this team. And we're still waiting at this point, obviously. UP started off Group Nirvana 2-1, and actually ended up falling down to 2-3. They would look like prime competitors, actually, to make it out into the play-in stage, but were eventually overtaken by Edward Gaming and LGD. So kind of been downhill since then. And for Ultra Prime, not the position that they wanted to be in, especially after how maybe this Group Nirvana did start. They are looking good in the bot lane specifically, though. As Fish1 down to 200 HP, has to back early before he even finishes off that first wave.
Yeah, it's the power of Lucian right there, especially with the Ignite dropped. Those summoners come up at around the same time. Barrier, obviously, the notoriety of that summoner spell comes from how quickly it comes off of cooldown. So there will be, I think, time for Fish1 to have that back before Ignite comes up. But still, yeah, going back to your kind of Ultra Prime point earlier, Grapes, I think the extra sad part is they've come so close, right? We mentioned it earlier, but the last 3 series that they have played from 721 onward have all gone to 3 games. They have been at that final hurdle so many times in this split alone, but have just tripped and scraped their knee at every single one. And right now, down 1 game, they are going to have to claw back 2 wins if they want to complete that run to getting their first win in 3.5 months.
And if you can pick this win up and somehow for Ultra Prime come back, win this series, all of a sudden you flip the schedule around, right? Like you're in the second round robin now, you're ending on a win. Hopefully that's some good momentum for you moving forward, even though of course the road will be tough as you have to get up into that top 4. Still definitely a good spot to be in if you still are able to run away with this series. If you're able to somehow come back in this, you know, mini reverse sweep over LNG.
Zika's wave is actually growing quite large as it crashes into the turret, and yeah, I think Xiaofang is reading the room. I think Jiang is as well, but the question is, what is he going to do about it?
Zika taking a decent chunk of damage, but does have the Fury.
Oh,
nice flash combo!
Oh no!
Oh, what an outplay it could be! But the turret aggro goes onto the Vi instead of Zika, and that means that the Renekton will be with a claim first blood.
It was not a clean dive whatsoever, Grapes, but you know, a kill is a kill. We take the wins where we can find them. Zika is going to pick up first blood, and crucially, Jiang is going to miss so much CS. A 800 gold gap between the top laners, but Junhao wants to even the score.
No slice and dice available for Zika just yet. One more chomp from Junhao will make it a 1-for-1.
So alleviating some stress there for the UP top laner. Zika now also burning flash means that the extra aggression from the Renekton likely not going to be there. Those flashes are basically synced with one another. This will give them an opportunity, I think, to go for those swaps at the end of the day. And I have to think that LNG going for this early probably means that they just don't really care about the dragon. They really just want to set up around these grubs when it's time and give resources over to Fish One in the meantime.
Has not had a chance to get a lot of resources just yet, which is why this lane swap will be very helpful for them. As obviously that level 1 starting to pay the price a little bit, as now they can try to go onto Zhang, or he doesn't have his flash anymore either. They've already burned a lot of those damage spells, so the body slam will be able to be used to get away. But now, LNG have an opportunity to take a lot of plates up on the top side, with the trade being, of course, Junhao taking the dragon in response.
Yeah, it's going to be uncontested on a ward, but it doesn't matter. It's Haichao. Oh, Saber's actually just going to straight up burn ultimate there. And I love the aggression coming out from LNG on the other side. They aren't even giving Zhang a moment's rest. They are sending 3 people top lane. They're not even trying to hide it. Xiaofang is just saying, all right, I don't even care about waiting in the bush. And look at Zhang. He's like, all right, well, I mean, okay. I mean, I guess this is how we're playing now. I'll just go bot lane. Maybe they can dive Zika?
River Gragas at play. This is given, like, start of 2025 lane swaps, right? Where they would just try to
don't remind me, man.
Hey, it's fun when it's not happening every game. And now,
True.
It means that things are interesting here. As it looks like 4 members of Ultra Prime will go towards Zika. He does have his Subjugate available. Going to pop it. Try to heal up, but will not be able to use the Empowered Q to heal. And Zhuo comes in with the TP, but it is far too late. Ultra Prime get the kill, but LNG still farming plates up on the top side of the map.
And really, really smart play there, particularly from Zhang, realizing that he is bullied out of the lane. He can do nothing about getting back to top, so he makes the most of it. He goes bot. They set up for a dive on a stacked wave, and they punish Zika. He goes down. It's a kill over to Baiye, crucially, as well. So this Lucian, you may get a lot of CS on one side for the Xayah, but now that swap is going to be kind of Uno reversed because Lucian and Nami will be going to the top side now, and they'll be doing it with a kill's worth of gold.
And they'll be able to generate enough pressure, most likely, for Ultra Prime to be in prime position to start up these grubs in about a minute's time as well. If they want to try to continue the snowball. Again, they're early skirmishing from the bot lane and the jungle of Ultra Prime is really going to help this team stay alive and stay ahead here in the early game. And they got to try to keep continuing that momentum. Junhao backs, picks up a couple of more item components, and then will now rotate to the top side jungle where he has the entirety of his second rotation of camps, as well as the grubs now fight over in about 20 seconds time.
And you just see how much pressure this Lucian is able to provide for Ultra Prime. They immediately get priority on the top side. They open up that river for Junhao to take. Doesn't even matter what Haichao's conditions are at the current moment, because even if he roams, it should just be possible for Saber to follow. Really feels like the pressure advantage. The ball is in Ultra Prime's court. The question is, can they deliver a slam dunk and get us advantages capable of taking us to 3 games?
Ultra Prime starting up these grubs after the blue buff was secured by Junhao, but LNG in a good position to actually contest. Xiaofang has a level lead over Junhao, so a little bit of extra damage to potentially be at his ability as he actually smites away the first grub. Now landing the knockup onto the Trundle. Subjugate now going to be used to try to keep him alive as Xiaofang has to flash away, but he's stuck in the pit. Vault breaker over the wall, and the double shot nearly taking him down as Ultra Prime will be able to claim the other 2 grubs, but LNG do a nice job at least getting 1.
LNG, they deny the full 3 like you said, Grapes, but still they are going to get that meter for the feat of dragon slaying. At the end of the day, though, it kind of felt like LNG were just coming into that fight a little bit less prepared, particularly Fish One, not really able to sync up with the rest of his team. Therefore, Ultra Prime more or less had a numbers advantage. They were able to be a unit of 5 a lot easier, a lot quicker. And I think because of that, they were just forced to concede. So, not the worst thing in the world, getting the 1 grub, but still a really well set up topside river for Ultra Prime. Ultimately doesn't let the 1 grub go any further.
Saber gets knocked up here by Zhuo, not popping that quickness as it was on cooldown after that last fight. Saber in a little bit of danger, getting threatened slightly here by LNG, who continue to try to be aggressive. I like how Zhuo continuing to press the initiative here for his team as that big veteran here alongside Zika. But Ultra Prime, I feel like we are very much more pleased with how they've been able to play this game out so far.
This is a much better showing from Ultra Prime than in game number 1, like you said. And they'll have more opportunities to show that, as Dragon going to be coming up in about 45 seconds. Zika and Jiang, crucially, don't have teleport, so the top laners will not be relevant, you have to imagine, in this fight, unless we see Jiang roam all the way down. Culling.
Nice chunk on to Fish One and Zhuo, as they're going to try to pick up some more plates down here as well. Nice CS gap has opened up for Baiye and XiaoXia. Again, this bot lane duo from the BLG Junior team from a year ago, reunited with Junhao, reunited together as a unit. We've seen some decent looks from Baiye. I feel like most of the time it's kind of like on like a Saber duty, but now on a more explosive
Saber
pick,
Ezreal,
like the Lucian. They actually have a decent showing, at least so far.
He absolutely is, and this is going to be first turret acquired for the side of Ultra Prime. Funnily enough, there's actually a lot of damage being dealt by LNG on that topside turret because of that lane swap. They were able to take it down to 1 plate, so if they want to abandon this dragon, they can try and overload top and maybe dive Jiang as this Dominus pop from Zika.
To pop that explosive cast just to clear the wave, which is a good formula for now, but might not be able to save him still
risky.
as Xiaofang is on the way. They're going to say,
XiaoXia's
screw the
coming.
wave, we're going to go for the kill anyway, and they should be successful at that, but they bought enough time for XiaoXia to be here, and Baiye will join it and take Xiaofang down, making it a 1-for-1, with the dragon also secured by Junhao on the bottom side.
That is not worth it, in my opinion, for LNG. Sure, you get Jiang, but you give another kill over to Baiye, who now has a 1,000 gold lead over his counterpart. Fish One, not exactly expected to be the carry, but still you need gold in comparison with the Xayahs. XiaoXia?
That was a very aggressive Hex Gate without anybody nearby, but you know what? It ends up working out. Don't even have to burn a Summoner spell as he gets on out as Junhao now joins him in solidarity. Hits Krugs a couple times, then realizes he can't do this. And actually getting engaged on by Xiaofang right now. This teleport coming back in from Zika to try and take this Trundle down. Already has the subjugate, has to flash over the wall. Make sure he stays alive, but Zika still hungry, still looking for Baiye now. He has both of his Summoner spells available, but won't be able to use any, as the Shockwave comes through over the stun from the Renekton and evens things up for LNG.
You know, they were going for the Trundle, but they'll settle for the Lucian. Absolutely a massive kill over to LNG, and now nobody from Ultra Prime is here to contest this topside push. A turret will finally be claimed for them in trade from that recent bot lane tower that they lost. Zika is going to claim the gold as well, so this Renekton, despite being put behind, is now in a really solid spot relative to the Gragas. Over 1,000 gold lead over his counterpart. And this is slowly but surely matching what Baiye was able to accomplish against Fish One.
Yeah, you know, you say put behind, but Zhang was also put maybe even further behind, which is indicative of what the gold lead looks like right now. Yeah. Obviously, the winner for Ultra Prime is Baiye at this point, but he's going to try to do some damage on the Fish One, who already has to pop that Feather Storm. Will be able to live, as it does get away from nearly all of the crowd control that the Ultra Prime bot jungle duo tried to throw at him. The Fish One will live for now, but see the power of this Lucian Nambi combo really coming into play as the culling just immediately takes Zhuo down to half HP.
Really solid outing there from the bot lane duo of LNG. It burns the culling, it burns the tidal wave as well. So those will be down for a little bit. But still, you don't have anyone contesting Baiye on this mid wave. It doesn't matter how much gold you try to give over to the Xayah. It doesn't matter how much gold you even try to give over to the Renekton. If you don't put down this carry in the Lucian, UP are just going to run with it, as they're going to try again on the Gragas.
Hey, third time. Why not go for it again? And once again, will be successful. Zhang's had a bad time here in this second game. Not going to be in the same position as he was in the Glen in game number 1. But the rest of his team may be in a better position here, as Baiye and XiaoXia doing a nice job gaining some control in mid, and Saber and Junhao munching away on this tier 2 turret.
Yeah. I mean, this is just the consequence of giving 2 grubs over to Trundle. Immediately bites that one in half. And, I mean, sure, you get a kill on the bot side, you're going to get a turret in trade. But ultimately, Ultra Prime, I feel, win out on this one with just how much gold they're beginning to funnel into their carries as Baiye maybe has an opportunity with his team.
Nice pillar, lands on above Fish1 and Zhuo, stunning up the bottom side of LNG and allowing for them to claim yet another turret. 4 towers at 15 minutes into the game. Ultra Prime have a clear objective, and that is to make sure those objectives go down.
And now Ultra Prime likely going to push the issue onto LNG, having no outers. That Herald is up and could prove to be really, really useful around the time of this dragon. We talked about it a little in game 1, but oh my god, Jiang, my poor friend. Just play safe, right?
Now, I've seen a Gragas player, maybe in the ERLs, have performances like this. So, you know, maybe that's a sign that rest of Ultra Prime could be doing well. As now we're seeing Zika and Saber go at it on the top side of things. And Zika is having a really good time. However, reinforcements now will arrive. A summoner heal popped by XiaoXia, forcing the Croc to flash away. Aqua Prison does not connect, but the rest of the damage might be able to do the Call to Meek, keeping Zika alive. But Saber's going to flash forward, land that empowered Q, and take the Renekton down.
And that Roa is really doing a lot of favors to Saber. Zika thought he had the angle, but the Victor was too darn tanky. He will survive. He trades his flash with the Renekton, but ultimately him being alive will give Ultra Prime the ability to walk into this river with numbers.
Now it does get engaged on, taking out
the flank.
Still has subjugate available. Zhang teleports in, spots out Xiaofang, and he has to now flash away and use the Vault Breaker to get back into his side of the pit. Ultra Prime currently winning out on things right now as they await Zika's TP, but it might be too late. Baiye flashes over the Shockwave, but he gets knocked up by the quickness and should be taken down by Xiaofang and goes forward with the Season Assist. 1-0 in favor of LNG, but the health bars are low. They'll be forced to back away as Ultra Prime will look to regain control mid.
But they have the Hex Gates, the low HP members. They should be able to rejoin the fight immediately. Baiye has another 20 seconds on his death timers. And that was such an unfortunate engage there from Baiye. He wanted to try and make the hero play, but he just goes too far. He burns his flash as well, so even if he comes to join his team for this continued dragon fight, he will be down a summoner. He won't have that safety net. He's got to play extra carefully. And Ultra Prime, they don't want to play carefully. They want to go in. They want to reclaim this river, Grapes.
They don't have any ultimates to do it. The big damaged ones in terms of Saber and Baiye, both still on cooldown, but Junhao still trying to get his way into the pit. That pillar doing so much to allow for Fish1 to get very low. Junhao's right in the middle of everyone, and Xiaofang will go down. It's Baiye to claim the kill, and it should be Ultra Prime claiming the Drake as well. It's the Hextech Soul Point, secured for UP.
And it is the same thing, but a different side. Ultra Prime getting Soul Point so early on in this game, and now it's LNG that are put on a timer. Gonna go back here. Baiye again, just looking for the play. Flashes the Shockwave, but then he basically has nobody to back him up. I think that Zhuo on the Recon, the charm prevented the rest of the front line from immediately joining up with the Lucian. So ultimately, it was a delayed reinforcement of the UP80 carry, and that tiny little window was enough for LNG to kill him and burn his flash, but still it doesn't stop them from getting Soul Point and the Baron now as well. So, or rather the Herald. Baron is in a few minutes. So still, Ultra Prime in firm control of this game, but the gold lead actually doesn't really tell that story, Graves.
No, definitely not. I mean, the scaling obviously does still exist on LNG side. You have all these ball delivery systems with Haichao Shockwave. He's had himself a decent game in his own right, at least for now. But Ultra Prime, right now taking advantage of when their competition is the strongest. Baiye on the Lucian doing a lot of damage right now. Saber starting to come online. That Road Out of Ages going to be completed for him as well as Zhang shortly. As LNG now are really going to have to be careful about fighting around these objectives, because if they falter just one bit, that's a Hextech soul going over, one of the stronger souls in the game right now.
Looking across the board right now, it really feels like the best bet for LNG here rests in Zika, the guy who has seen the ups and downs, the lefts and the rights of this organization now, here to try and get his team the first win of the split. But if I'm being honest with you, Grapes, it doesn't necessarily feel like that gold lead is because Zika is ahead. It more so feels like Jiang is extremely far behind.
Yeah, and he can still have utility on this Gragas pick as everybody on Ultra Prime hovering around this Otacon, and Xiaofang is still so far away.
Oh,
Hey, there's Zhang with an MVP play, using the cast to knock the jungler away. He will go down for his sins eventually, but he heals up for a while and forces LNG to get chunked out. Zika forced to run away as a flank angle still is available, and LNG still want the fight. It's a 4v5, Xiaofang at half HP, Zika getting chunked as well. The dominance not going to be enough as Baiye will secure the kill as they collapse upon the flanker. They're using the Herald, but not towards the turret. They're looking for blood onto LNG's side. Knock-up will land onto Haichao, but the engage isn't there just yet. Junhao trying to chase him down as Zhuo goes forward with the quickness. It will not be enough though as Haichao will drop. They finally take down the Lucian, but now Fishwan will be the response. Ultra Prime winning the Herald, winning the fight, and they get themselves the Otacon as well.
And at the end of the day, it's Zika just going a little too far forward. They miss time trying to choke out Ultra Prime. They box them in, but Ultra Prime find the correct timing to counterpunch, and now Xiaofang is going to defend his tier 2. Ultimately though, UP winning out in the fight. A lot of that gold going over to Junhao on this Trundle. And we're seeing just how difficult it is to play against this champion. The Subjugate made it so easy to take down the Renekton. Even if he manages to stall out long enough, he had signed his death warrant the moment Trundle clicked R on him.
We'll do a little test here. How quickly does the Renekton go down? This is again a champion that's supposed to soak up some DPS.
3.5 seconds, almost 4.
Yeah. And then with a 4v4. Hey, nicely done here by Junhao to knock up Haichao with that Herald.
Yeah.
That man earned his license off of that play.
He absolutely did, but also it just feels like mistiming and miscommunication coming out from the side of LNG, because, you know, obviously we point to the misdirection of Zika and being alone on that top side. But then again, Xiaofang was completely isolated from his team when that Herald play was made by Junhao. He wasn't really able to be there. You talk about 4v4, but it was more like 3v4 if we're being honest with ourselves, Grape, simply because the jungler for LNG wasn't present to back up his team. Ultra Prime are just routinely finding numbers advantages, routinely finding the angles to press the issue, and now the issue has arrived to LNG's front doorstep. This is soul on the line for Ultra Prime. This is LNG's potentially last stand to come back in this game.
All eyes have to be towards Haichao on this Orianna. Need a great shockwave if they want to win this fight. The culling has already come out, and Fishwan is down to 300 HP. Into the pit, Xiaofang goes. He's looking for the engage. The season assist does connect, but a huge bubble from XiaoXia is going to slow down the assault and make sure that Ultra Prime are fine and dandy around the Soul Drake. Haichao did not find a good ultimate, and he will pay for it with his life. The laser from Saber will take him down, and it's an ace picked up for UP.
And a triple for the mid laner of Ultra Prime. Junhao at the end of the day, uncontested, doesn't need anyone on his team to help him with the dragon. This will allow Ultra Prime to push down in the mid lane. They don't have a huge wave, so maybe they don't find the turret, but nonetheless, that was just, like you said, Grapes, a massive bubble by XiaoXia. Being able to peel off his AD carry, give Baiye a crucial couple of seconds on this Lucian, and overall, just waste so many resources on LNG's side. As we're gonna get another look at this. That culling damage, a Fishwan, he might not have been dead, but he was out of the fight. There was no way for him to get back in. And then a beautiful R from XiaoXia, a beautiful bubble peeling off for his backline, providing so much time for them to just free hit in this fight. You have to think that was a primary reason they were able to take this exchange.
XiaoXia on the Nami, able to find a lot of plays. They find another huge play. Jung might be 1-5, but he's finding huge attempts for his team as they take Fish One down once again. The newest player here in the LPL, not having as good of a performance this time. Shockwave lands onto 2 members here from Haichao, but there's no follow-up here onto the Ultra Prime backline as Baiye gets healed up by the Redemption, and they can now turn their sights towards the Baron on spawn.
Yeah, Ultra Prime are like, okay, doesn't have Shockwave anymore. Let's just go on to Baron. The world is our oyster, and right on spawn, they're going to take the big purple worm. Zika does have teleport, but based on Xiaofang's positioning and the fact that the Vi is just on this bot side, there really is no possibility for a contest. This is going to go over to UP. My biggest concern now is that LNG don't have the greatest of wave clear. Obviously, you've got the Xia with those passive, those clean cuts, but really, the AoE is not doing you any favors for trying to defend your base. And it feels like Ultra Prime, they get 1 pick, they get 1 kill. They should be able to press the issue and take us to a game 3.
Instead, game 3's Ultra Prime, very familiar with that, trying to make it 4 times in 5 series. The question is, if they do close out this game, can they finally win their first series here in Group Nirvana? Time will tell, obviously, but a much better showing here from basically everybody here on Ultra Prime. Saber quietly really be having a monster showing onto the victor at this point.
Yeah.
3 full items and 1,000 gold shutdown to his name. And Baiye playing aggressive and still looking for more. As Xiaofang now the target, he uses the vault breaker to try to escape, but another nice aqua prison lands as XiaoXia will find the jungler of LNG and take him down easily.
Yeah, it's another kill, another one racked up for Ultra Prime as they are now 5 members in the bot lane. And LNG, they've got a member at top, they've got a member in mid. Is this the competitive version of Open?
Oh, they're going to get some objective bounties maybe here on that tier 1, but they might not be get the chance to spend the gold before the game already ends. Culling comes out, Zhuo trying to block for Fish One, but both of them are taken critically low as the first Nexus tower does drop, and Baron buff still in everybody's hands. Haichao with the shockwave doesn't do any damage whatsoever, and Jung will get kill number 2 on the day. Nexus now exposed, body slam will connect, and that's going to do it. Ultra Prime forcing a decider into this battle of the mud. Game 3 is coming up right after this.
Both teams are in the mud indeed, Grapes. They are getting it all over their face. It is everywhere. Just trying to get that first series win. And I told you it would go to game 3. I told you something in the air was letting me know that this 100%, the battle in the mud, had to go all the way. There was no other way.
You know, the cynical LPL fan would tell you that, you know, these 2 teams are just trying to torture us to make sure that we stay here as long as possible and make sure that JDG versus Anyone's Legend is delayed until the wee hours of the morning here in the United States. But that is kind of what always happens, seemingly, whenever Ultra Prime take to the Rift. The question is, are they going to be able to close out this series, something that they've been unable to do so far here in the 3rd split of 2025? But overall, a much better showing for them. I think overall, Junhao had himself a good game on the Trundle that was locked in first, by the way. And he was able to really facilitate the map, allow for initially Baiye to get ahead. And then once he started getting targeted by basically every ability of LNG, Saber ended up really taking the mantle.
Yeah, no, Saber was definitely the late game insurance that I think, you know, we mentioned it toward the end of the game there, Slayer, but kind of flew under the radar for both of us. Just quietly started accumulating this mass heap of gold, had the bags on his at his knees, and was able to spend it all and absolutely eviscerate the side of LNG. Was victor from Arcane, for lack of a better term. But I honestly kind of want to shout out Jiang. Like, if this is a solo queue game, I would be honoring my man for tilt proof, because he was focused down all game and managed to still be super useful around those team fights. Those casks had so many different uses, and he managed to find every single use for them in the, you know, short time where he was actually able to link up with his squad.
Yeah, you know, those are the most important moments, right? Where you're, doesn't matter, you know, you lock in the Gragas not to get ahead, not to like fully 1v9, but to utilize your kit to provide the most utility possible for your team. And he did that multiple times with the explosive casks, sending, Xiaofang away from the Otacon around the top side, then using those body slams really nicely to set up for his team as well. It's overall Ultra Prime winning this one in a much quicker fashion, I should say, than LNG did, as for LNG now looking forward for the remainder of this series. Fish One did not have himself a good game. Really starting to see those rookie, showings here after the beginner's luck maybe in game number 1, getting caught up multiple times, starting off with that level 1 trade that Baiye and XiaoXia were able to take advantage of, and he really was never able to do much. You can see he actually did less damage than Xiaofang in that game.
Yeah, it was a rough game for Fish One. My man was never really in a position to deal any damage, period. And yes, he did get caught out a decent amount of times. He saved himself a decent amount of times. At the end of the day, Grapes, I think it was just the fact that he was never really able to use his ultimate in any offensive ways. He constantly had to do it in order to save himself. And when you are, around a minute, 45 seconds away from a dragon, that ultimate is extremely crucial to have, and so it just constantly gave UP a nice target to go for and gave them an opening into every single fight. And whether or not, Fish One was that opening or not, the fact remained that he wasn't relevant in the game, and it felt like he really wasn't able to find any kind of uses on that Xia. So going into game number 3, it's a pretty scary task for a rookie, but now you're the guy that's expected to maybe try and help this team find their first win, get them back on track, and one game can separate you from a very embarrassing first round robin to something that shows promise going into the second half of the split.
Absolutely here. Winning that first series, sometimes you break the seal and it ends up, finding success after that. We saw both FPX and Team WE in Group Ascend last split start off 0-4, 0-5, and then eventually once they got that first win, it ended up kind of spiraling into, again, what was pretty impressive runs for both of those teams. So maybe we can see something similar out of Ultra Prime. We saw LNG do the same thing last split as well in Group Nirvana, as they're also looking for their first win.
God, that Herald play.
As this was a really fun moment again with Junhao. I feel like he might just have to be the player of the game.
Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to it, and that would be our 3 out of 4 games, by the way, would be owned by the jungler. So, again, jungle lives on top, boys. The boys remain the best. And yeah, overall, Junhao, I think, played that Trundle really, really well. Again, we're looking at these junglers to be the guys spearheading these engages on things like the Zinzao, on things like the Trundle. You pick who your team wants to go for, and it's up to your team to follow. And I think Junhao did a great job of target selection, of subjugating the right target, of leading Ultra Prime in a lot of these fights, and allowing them to just take numbers advantage and basically run away with this game. And a big shout out to Baiye as well. Electrocute Ignite Lucian sounds like something you would see in like a plat game where someone says, oh bro, I watched it on X, Y, and Z. I watched some X, Y, and Z pro player do it. I can do it too. I can first time it in ranked. This guy actually made me believe that technology is it's not
good.
Dark. It in fact illuminates the team's hopes of taking this series.
Honestly, we've seen most Lucians in the LPL specifically go for that build.
I'm not used to it.
Just because of the fact that level 1 can happen, right? Where you send your opposing AD carry down to 200 HP, force him to back early. Ultra Prime didn't look back from that moment, and that was largely off the back of Baiye. And again, even though he ended up eating the brunt of the Vi ultis, of the Renekton engages, in these team fights, soaking up that pressure allowed for the rest of his team to succeed. And so if you are Ultra Prime, if you are Baiye, a very good win for you, even though the KDA might not be the most impressive, as you have now a chance to win your first series of split number 3. Player of the game going to Junhao, well deserved.
There we go. Third one of 3 out of 4 here, Grapes, for the Jungle Boys for MVP of the game. And now I'm really interested to actually see where we go from here. This is our this is our first game 3 of the night. Can you tell it's late at night? Because I'm starting to stutter over my words. And frankly, really interested to see the direction that both of these teams go, right? We said you had to pull out all of the stops. We said that Xiaofang had to play a champion similar to Viego in style, but obviously due to Fearless wasn't able to play the Viego, and he wasn't able to accomplish success in game number 2. So now I'm kind of interested to see where LNG's head's at, going back to the drawing board saying, all right, what worked for game number 1? Can we dig deep and find that success in the draft? And if they can, maybe they are the victors. But frankly, this Mud Bowl Grapes is getting very, very messy, my friend.
And only fitting that the battle of our two teams that have yet to collect a win here in Group Nirvana have struggled to close out the series cleanly. It's one apiece between LNG and Ultra Prime. We'll see who ends up in the win column for the first time once we come back from this short break here on LPL English.